Boy, I gotta get my projects done faster. This is super dusty. Hey guys, welcome back to Toy Shop. Today, we're gonna keep working on this Moto 4 200. All right, so far we got pretty much just the rear axle done. We got the rear bearing carrier and the diff put together and the brakes put together. And that's pretty much it. Well, the frame painted, obviously, too. I want to kind of finish up the ass end of this thing. We've got the rear hitch and the hubs and the tube for the drive shaft. So I want to get those sandblasted and painted. I know these three things here are black. Near as I can tell, these are just supposed to be like a plated, like steel looking color. So we're going to get these cleaned up as best we can. But we've got this one bar that runs from like here up to the rear end. And I need another one. And I measured it, it's just 1/2 inch pipe and it's just kind of flattened on the ends. So I'm gonna try to just make a new one and then paint it black, and then hopefully you won't be able to really tell. But we've got a bent ear here with a nut and bolt, so I'm gonna get that nut and bolt off and try to bend this tab back. I did notice in this tube here, there's a bearing right here. So probably I'm gonna end up masking this off. I don't really wanna get a bunch of sand down in here. I wanna clean this really good, but I think I'm gonna end up sticking some rags in here and then taping over it so I don't get sand down in that bearing, because I don't have one to replace it with, and I don't think it does a whole lot. So I'm fine with just using that one. All right, I got all these sandblasted. I noticed this little guy here is broke. I think what I'm gonna do is when I make one, I'm just gonna make two and just use this as a pattern. Since it's cracked anyways, I'm gonna have to make one. Other than that, I think I'm gonna paint these silver. From looking at them before I sandblasted them and trying to look in pictures and stuff, I think they were probably just like zinc plated or something. I'm not gonna be able to zinc plate these, so I think I'm just gonna spray paint them silver. But this and this are gonna get painted black. So I'm gonna start by priming these, and then we're gonna get some black shot on them. All right, so I ended up buying this tubing at Tractor Supply, and it worked out pretty good. It's 1/2 inch pipe. And what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these, I'm just gonna go over here to the press, and I'm just gonna smush them flat and then drill a hole in them. It's not gonna be absolutely identical. At least I can get them flattened out, and then I can kind of bend them afterwards. All right, so I'm just gonna kind of eyeball it. I think that looks pretty close. That actually don't look half bad. Huh, well, damn. I think that looks plenty good enough. Now it looks like the other one is opposite, so I'm gonna roll it over like this and then stick it in there this way, because that should kind of give me what I want. Now I decided to use the press because I figured it would look a lot cleaner than just hitting it with a hammer or squeezing it in the vise. But I think either one of those options could have worked. It's hard to show you the whole thing. I think that looks pretty close. I like it. I'm gonna do the same thing now to this other one, then we're gonna drill holes in it. All right, I'm gonna deburr these up and then we're gonna paint them. All right, so I got all these pieces here drying. I've got the last coat of paint on those. And I think in the meantime, I was gonna start putting the wiring on this while that was drying for the stuff back there. But the wiring harness has the headlight bucket in it, and I don't really want to tear this apart quite yet. And it's kind of attached to the whole loom. Before I can put this whole wiring harness on, I want to get the steering, at least the steering shaft put in. Here's the shaft. I'm going to sandblast this. And I did pound the bushings out before I did the frame. And I cleaned these up and they feel pretty tight. I did ding them up a little bit with a hammer and a punch when I went to go remove them. But I just kind of took a round file and pushed the burr back. They feel good enough that I have no issue putting these back in the frame. I got them cleaned up pretty good. We're gonna sandblast this, and then we're probably gonna paint this black. It almost looks like it was kind of like a dark olive color almost, but other parts weren't. So I think we're just gonna paint it black. And then the bars, I could buy bars, but there's nothing the matter with these. So I'm gonna sandblast these two and then paint these. And then we can start putting the steering stem together. So I've kind of got a lot of projects going on at once right now. The new tires came in, so I want to get the rims prepped before I put the new tires on. I ended up going to my buddy's shop and using his tire machine to get the old tires off, and I'm glad I did, because one of the front tires was an absolute nightmare to get the rubber off. But I found this at Advanced or AutoZone, I think Advanced Auto. And it seems like it matches pretty decent. It's metallic gold. I'm thinking it's probably gonna have a little heavy, it's gonna be a little heavy on the metal flake, but it doesn't, the cap doesn't look very metal flaky, but it looks close enough for me. So I bought this. I've got some clear coat that we're gonna spray on these. I haven't clear coated anything yet, which hopefully that doesn't bite me, but I'm gonna clear coat the rims when I get them done. But I wanna sandblast these, but before I do that, I wanna go through and just kind of touch up all the beads, all the lips around the wheels and stuff, and kind of get all the boogers all pounded out. The steering stem came out good. I put a new grease fitting in here because there wasn't one in here. This clamp that goes around here is still over there on the headlight bucket. I've got the handlebar clamps primed right now. Those are drying. We're working on the rims right now. I'm getting the hardware prepped for the rear hitch, and I want to try to make this thing roll is my intention. The back is plenty ready enough to roll. The only thing I got to do is get the rims done so I can put the wheels on. But the front, I want to kind of get the steering stem done, the wiring, and then we're going to start working on the front hubs with the brakes and stuff. That's kind of how we're trying to flow this. All right, so we got one wheel right here completely painted, and it's dry and good to go. This wheel here is only half done. The way I'm doing them is finishing the inside of one and then at least down to the bead on the inside, getting it that far done and clear coating it. I'm letting it fully cure, and then I'm flipping it over and masking off all the holes inside so I don't get any overspray up through and into this side of the wheel, so I can do that end there. So that one's half done, and both of these over here are half done. This is the paint I ended up using, which is kind of close. I don't like how this stuff sprays, but it's working. It's off a little bit color-wise. It's close enough. This is gonna end up getting painted the same as that, so you won't be able to really tell, and you'll be able to get the idea. But this is gonna be the next step, is getting the front wheel, well, the front hubs all cleaned up, new wheel bearings put in it, and brake pads, and putting this on the wheeler. Well, hopefully, once the rims are done, I can go get the tires put on, and then I can have this be a rolling chassis. So we're gonna do the front brakes. I've got everything for the handlebars. Well, that's the last thing that's got to dry. Those are the bottom clamps. And then right there's the top clamps with the bolts and the nuts and washers. So these are all zinc plated and ready to get assembled. I'm just waiting on those bar bottom clamps to dry up. And then we'll be able to get the bars on, and this top piece here, I might need to paint that still. I got the rear grab bar thrown on, and these pipes here that we made and bent up fit pretty good. I didn't have them completely lined up, so they kind of had to tweak themselves into place as I tightened up the bolts, but it seems to work really good, and I've got both pipes now for the grab bar. So that ended up pretty good. All right, I'm gonna start pulling everything apart on these so we can start sandblasting it. All right, so I might have got a little excited and did a lot of this off of camera. In my defense, I was playing around with plating and stuff that I don't really want to show you guys yet because I don't want to lead you guys down a bad pathway. So until I get all the plating stuff figured out, I don't really want to show you guys that. I did sandblast and paint these. I got new wheel bearings put in the front hubs, new wheel bearings and seals. And I've got a new seal in there. It came with the kit. Same with these two over here. This I thought was pretty cool. It was pretty fancy. I ended up plating just this shaft, and it kind of like had like a weird seam line into here because I just had it dangling in the tank to get plated. So I plated it all the way up into there, and then I masked this off with masking tape, sandblasted everything here, and then painted this. I ordered new kingpin bushings. I'm pretty sure these are the kingpins. Anyways, I put these new bushings in here, and I put new grease fittings in both of these. I've got all the other hardware plated. So I've got the bolt for the brake lever all plated. The little indicator guy, he's plated. Flapper doodad for the brakes is plated. These are the bolts that go down through here. These like came out super good. I was really happy with these. And then I went and did all the washers, and they came out way less impressive. So I'm still getting it figured out. I think the plating is on there good enough to prevent corrosion, but it doesn't look like chrome. So there's only so much I can do with that. But as long as they're not gonna rust, I guess I don't really care. I bought two new little rubber boots that are gonna go on here because why not? I probably would not have sandblasted the brake shoes if they were both the same, but this one was just a raw aluminum color and this one was black. Well, when I sandblasted this one, the brake pad material started to separate from the shoe. So I have a new brake shoe coming for this side. This one looks fine. We're gonna assemble one side, And then when this comes in, I'm just gonna assemble the other side off camera. One thing I noticed was on this brake, this is the right-hand side brake, it's broke here where it holds the brake cable. I hemmed and hawed about actually replacing it or not, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't think I'm going to. It looks like it's pretty common for these to break off. I don't know why. And I had a bolt in there that like held the cable in. So for right now, we're gonna do that because I already have way too much money invested in this four-wheeler to buy another one of these. I'd rather save the money. I got new brake cable coming, and I think that's it for this. I think we're gonna assemble all of this and put this on the four-wheeler right now, and then I'll probably end up tearing it back apart when the brake shoes come in on this side because I really want to get this thing rolling. So along with the plating not being consistent all the time, I just had to chase this nut here because when I plated it, it got a lot of extra plating inside the threads of that. So I just had to chase that with a tap, but it came right out. It is a little hard to get out, which is good because I want the zinc plating to be tough. And the nice thing about the zinc plating not being shiny is even though it doesn't look super pretty, that plating is still on there. So I can take it to the buffing wheel and I can make it look shiny. So these collars go here in the seals and I don't really want them to be rough or anything. So I'm gonna polish up the plating on these two spacers so when they go in there and ride in the seals, they're not tearing up the seals. So I almost forgot about these two. These are the sleeves that go there. So I think what I wanna do first is, I think we'll want to half rear-endedly assemble this. So I'm gonna have to get some grease. This is just Maxim waterproof grease. I use this stuff all the time. This is actually like almost a brand new container because I finally used all of my first one like 2 weeks ago and I've had it for probably 10 years. So we're dipping into a fresh tub of grease on this. I'm gonna put just a little bit of grease here where these seals ride. Because if you look down in here, there's two O-rings. So we're gonna stick this in here. All right, that feels pretty good. I guess I might as well start with putting the shoes on. All right, through the power of editing, I'm gonna make that look really easy. Kind of a bitch of this is I don't remember exactly how this arm went. I guess that kind of has to go this way. So if we look on this shaft here, there's a tooth missing here. I don't know if that's gonna show up. And then on this piece here, there's like 3 little jagged marks in there. So I don't know, there's like 3 little protrusions inside that hole. One of them's bigger than the other ones, and that bigger one's supposed to line up here. Now the only thing is, I think I've got this 180 degrees off, so I gotta take the pads back off of it so I can rotate this 180. So my little indicator is pointing up here next to this bar. So now that's up here on this indicator for how wore out the brake pads are. Now I wish there was a mark on here, which I don't see a mark on either one of them. I think we're gonna have to wing this part until we get the brake cable because I don't know what notch this is supposed to be on. I don't really see any indicator marks here. There's a punch mark on the end of this shaft. There's a little dimple, but there's nothing to orient it up against on here. All right, we're gonna put our bolt on, squeeze the lever, it opens up. It seems pretty good to me. All right, now really this can sit in here. Oh, because there's this O-ring in here, I want to put just a thin layer of grease here, and I want to put a thin layer of grease in this O-ring. All right, so I'm gonna meet these halves, get it on that seal. There's that. And really this should go in here, maybe. I guess I haven't actually fit it in here yet. I might have to clean some of the paint out of that. Whoops. All right, so what happened is I got paint in this collar here and it doesn't want to go through that. I'm gonna get a little flap wheel and see if I can't get that opened up a little bit. Maybe a brass brush instead. There it goes. All right, so those pieces there are gonna mesh together and I can slide this back on. This ring can get some grease on it. That gets slid down into place. And really all that's left is a washer and a nut. All right, I'll tighten that up once we get it on the chassis. On the back side here, because I was waiting for stuff, this sleeve is gonna go in here inside these kingpins. Or this is the kingpin, I don't know exactly how that works. Must be a little bit of buildup from the plating, so we are gonna All right, that didn't persuade in there too hard, so I'm not super worried about it. I also didn't grease it because there's a grease fitting here, so I'll just make sure we pump her full of grease because we really need grease between this collar we just slid in there and these bushings that are pressed in. So we'll just pump the grease to it once we get that in the wheeler. Then there's these little dust caps. All right, that kind of holds it all together. What I did notice when I was doing these, there's a little letter stamped on this one and this one. So this is the right-hand side, this is the left-hand side. So this hopefully will bolt right up to the left-hand side of the wheeler. And we can get the front tires on this, I'm hoping. All right, so that's gonna slide on there like that. I looked at the microfiche and it showed the bolt going up through the bottom, which I'm gonna put some grease on this because grease doesn't actually get to this. All right, so 14 on the bolt, 17 on the nut. I have no idea what the torque cues are on this. So I think what I'm gonna do is just kind of snug it up until the steering starts to get tight, I think. It's starting to snug up a little bit. And go just a little more to line up with the cotter pin. It's a little snug, but it's dry yet, and it's all fresh. So hopefully it'll work in a little bit. Boy, I gotta get my projects done faster. This is super dusty. All right, let's get that on. All right, guys, I think we're gonna have to end it there. If you guys have liked this, then consider subscribing to keep up to date on the rest of this project, and click on the Moto 4 playlist I have so you can see everything we've done to this wheeler up to this point. If you guys wanna help the channel out, there's a link down below to my Patreon, and if you sign up, I will take a can of carburetor cleaner and I'll put your name on it and shout you guys out during an episode. I also post pictures there throughout the week when I'm working on stuff to kind of keep you guys in the loop. So if you kind of wanna know what happens more behind the scenes, and you want to get your name on a can of carburetor cleaner, the link is down below. In the next video, we're going to get the tie rod ends put on. We're going to get the controls all finished up with the headlight, run new brake cables and stuff, foot pegs, and kind of get the rest of this buttoned up so that we can start working on the motor.